Hi, I'm JJ Murphy. I'm author of the Algonquin Round Table Mysteries, and I'm talking with Ellen Meister, who's the author of a book called Farewell, Dorothy Parker, and she's got a new book coming out called Dorothy Parker Drank Here. Ellen, tell us about your new book and where is here?
Hi, JJ. Thanks so much for having me and for interviewing me. I'm really excited to speak with you. Okay, so Dorothy Parker Drank Here. The here in the book is actually the Algonquin because most of the action takes place in the Algonquin Hotel. But I actually thought it would be kind of amusing. One of the things that I said to my editor after I wrote it and we were discussing cover images, I said, wouldn't it be funny if we had the title Dorothy Parker Drank Here and showed a skyline of Manhattan? So that the here could refer to pretty much the entire island of Manhattan. Um, and so we actually wound up with something sort of similar to that. I don't know if you, can I show the cover? Is that okay? So this is the absolutely gorgeous cover, which my publisher did a job with. And as you can see, on the inverted martini glass, there is the skyline of Manhattan with a little olive there as the moon. So I'm very happy with the cover because I think it's got a certain elegance but also wit to it, which is perfect for Dorothy Parker.
Uh, Tell us what the book is about. Dorothy Parker is a ghost in this book.
Okay, so the book is about just to sort of give a little bit of background and how I like to handle this. So I wanted to bring Dorothy Parker back to life in a modern setting, and I had done that with my previous book, Farewell, Dorothy Parker. So I wasn't really interested in telling a ghost story and getting into all this sort of normal stuff. So I wanted to find a way to bring her into a contemporary setting without really focusing on the paranormal aspect. It has to be there so I can create a framework of reality, but it's not really the focus of the story. So it's not really intended to feel that much like a ghost story or a spooky paranormal story or anything like that. It's people in the modern world getting to interact with Dorothy Parker. But the way I created her world is that I created this fictitious guest book that existed in the Algonquin at the time when the Algonquin Round Table were meeting for lunch, okay? I did fictionalize, as you know, it was Frank Case, who was the manager of the Algonquin, because I had to put a lot of attitude and words in his mouth, I fictionalized that character. So instead of it being Frank Case, it's Percy Coates, who was the manager of the Algonquin Round Table during that era. And I had him as somebody who was obsessed with the afterlife. And he had found this book that had powers, and if people signed it, they could get to stick around after they died instead of crossing into the white light. And so the way I created this is that Dorothy Parker, along with the other Algonquinites, signed this guest book, but all of them have crossed into the white light. Dorothy Parker is rejecting eternal happiness and that kind of peace because of, and you know so much about her, that's her persona. So there she is stuck at the Algonquin, rejecting eternal peace, but also sort of excruciatingly lonely and needing people to hang out with her. So that's sort of her journey and where she's at. And there is somebody in the hotel, a reclusive writer named Ted Shriver, who's dying, and she wants him to sign the guest book so he can hang out with her after he passes. And then there's another character named Nora Wolf, who's a young TV producer, who also has her reasons to want something from that reclusive Ted Shriver person. And she and Dorothy Parker join forces and go on this journey together.
And Ted Shriver and Dorothy Parker do not get along, I assume.
No, I needed somebody who would be a good foil for her. So he's fairly belligerent. He's a really difficult character. And he gives her a run for her money. And that was sort of, enjoyable for me to write. As a writer, I'm sure you know that scenes in which there's conflict, this inherent conflict, those are the ones that are more fun to write, ones that almost sort of write themselves because they're always going to be interesting and engaging. So yeah, they do sort of have this, automatic conflict in all their scenes, and it was great fun to write both of them.
Um, why do you think she is still so fascinating to people?
Yeah, isn't that extraordinary? I think if you read some of the other great humorists of her day, they don't really hold up quite as well. she really had a particular genius that can be appreciated, in 2015 as much as it was appreciated in 1920. So, I think it's really extraordinary. I think it says something about her wit, which went beyond just being funny, but really was funny based on pain and based on the realities of the human condition and the realities of heartbreak. So I think because it comes from such a painful and universal human experience, we can still relate to the humor, the dark humor. So, I think that's why it lives on.
Yes, Dorothy Parker lives on. If the ghost of Dorothy Parker reappeared today in your life, what do you think she would say about your books?
Well, it's really interesting, JJ, because I was sitting in this very spot a couple of weeks ago making a video where I was reading from the book. And I got to the word love, and that door behind me popped open. And people kept saying, that was her, that was the ghost of Dorothy Parker, she's trying to give you a message. And whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I love the thought that she's here with me and appreciating what I do. I do like to think, in all seriousness, that she would be on board with what I'm doing. I've taken great pains to pay responsible tribute to her. I did just portray her as a wit or as a wisecracker. I tried to show her in all her complexity as somebody with a lot of pain in life, somebody with a lot of struggles and challenges in her life, but somebody who was more than just a wit, somebody who had a tremendous and generous heart for social injustice, and as you know, cared very, very deeply about that. So that's why I think that she would appreciate what I'm doing, because I'm not just trying to show her wit and her snarkiness, but also, the entirety of her and her complexity.
Yes, she was a very multi-layered person and quite a character. If they made a movie of one of your books, who would you pick to play Dorothy Parker?
That's such an interesting question, JJ. And I'll tell you, it's sort of the flavor of the month with me because I change my mind constantly. For the longest time, I was imagining Meryl Streep in a hat. And of course, everybody likes, and the way I wrote it, it could be Dorothy Parker either at her prime or the age she was when she died. So I really think, you could cast a variety of different actresses involved. But of course, Meryl Streep's the easy answer because everybody loves Meryl and she's so brilliant. If she could portray Julia Child, she could do anything, right? But I also got the idea recently of Helen Mirren. Right? So even if you put some dark hair on her, she might even sort of, in terms of her features, resemble Parker a little bit. But she's also such a brilliant actor and she can portray so much depth. I think she would be fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Helen Mirren does have that kind of sly wit. But tell us, what are you working on next?
That's a really good question. So I'm not making any promises because I'm just sort of toying with it right now. But rather than writing another story about the ghost of Dorothy Parker and putting it in contemporary times, I'm trying my hand at something that leans a little bit more towards historical fiction. So we'll see how that goes. The research is very heavy, and I'm giving it a shot. So, like I said, we'll see how that goes. I'm excited. I feel like there's so much more to explore about Dorothy Parker. There's so much about her life that is unexamined. So it intrigues me. So I'm seeing where that goes.
How can people find out about that or follow you?
If anybody wants any more information about my books, they could go to my website, ellenmeister.com. And then I also have that Dorothy Parker Facebook page. So it's called Dorothy Parker Quotes. But if they go to Facebook and do a search on Dorothy Parker, they'll come across that page. And it's a lot of fun. There are a lot of great people on that page, a lot of interaction. So I think, Dorothy Parker fans will enjoy it.